Hey, thank you for joining me on this one. In this video, we are going to use roll number as an example to understand how Windows functions work. Now, the way Windows functions work is they take the data that you're working with, in this case, this table, and they partition that data based on the column that you've decided. And then in each of the partition or in each of the buckets, the function is being applied independently of each. So let's use this table as our example. Now, this is a table that's made up of the sales team names, the product that they sold, the amount that they sold those product, and the date in which they sold those product. Now, let's start with the very first aspect of Windows function, partitioning the data. Let's say in this case, we want to partition the data based or by the sales team name. So if our partition here is by the sales team name, what's going to happen is this data, this is how it's going to look like. And when you look at this, you will see that all the names are put together into buckets. All John Duke are all together, all John Dean are together, and all John Doe's are together. Now, when the data is partitioned like this, the next step is to add function in each of the partition or in each of the bucket. In this case, our Windows function is roll number. Roll number will apply unique sequential integers to each row in the partition. So in this first partition, it's going to apply a unique sequential number here, integer here, and in this one, it's going to do the same. And in this one, it's going to do the same. So here we're going to have two integers. Here we're going to have 2, and here we're going to have 3 because there are 3 rows in this bucket. Now the next question you want to ask is, how will roll number function assign integers? So for example, if you take this case, which row here will get number 1 and which row here will get number 2? Now that is going to be based on the last piece of Windows function, especially when you are dealing with ranking function. Roll number is an example of a ranking Windows function. So whether it is the dryer that's going to take number 1 or it is the phone that's going to take number 1 in the case of John Doe would depend on the other syntax that you add in your Windows function. In our case, if we say that we want to partition this data by the sales team name, like we did here, and we want to order the data by amount, I'm just going to add a row number column here, a row number. I'm going to call that column row now. And then here, so we're going to have, we said it assign sequential integers to each row within a partition. So the first one is going to, so the first one for this partition is going to be this one. The second one for this partition, for John Duke's partition, is going to be this one. And then for John Dean, it's going to restart the partitioning all over, or it's going to restart the numbering all over. You're going to have 1 here and then 2 here. Now, that's because we're doing it based on the amount. And then in this partition, it's going to start all over again, and you're going to have 1 and then 2 and then 3. And so what we've done here is we've taken the data, we've partitioned by the sales team name, and we've ordered by the amount. And then that has generated us the roll number. And that's how roll number works. We've seen this here in Excel. Let's go to Postgres or to a SQL environment and see how we can write this out. Now I have this table here, which is the same table that we saw in Excel. You have your sales team, your product, your amount, and the sales date. Now for us to write a Windows function, the first thing you do is, of course, you have your select statement with the columns that you want to see. In this case, I want to see all the columns. Let me just put some space here, that way we can work with. Then I want to write my Windows function. What is the Windows function that we're working with here? It's roll number. Because the function, we need to put those brackets. Now, what will the roll number function be acting on? It will be acting over something. And that something is the partitioning. So in what partitioning will the roll number function be acting on? We said we are partitioning by something. We're partitioning by the sales team, right? That's what we talked about. We want to partition the data by sales team. Now, the interesting piece is that you write the function before the partitioning, but the partition happens before the function is being applied to the partitioning. And so we have partition by. Now, for roll number function to understand which roll or which record will receive the first position, the second position, or the third position, is going to be based on the number of the ordering. So let's say order by amount in descending order. Now this is a whole new column that we've created, so we need to name the column as row num. Same as we did in Excel, it has to be row num, same as we did in Excel. And then if I run this now, you're going to see that now you have your order here. You have the first here, the first bucket here with the row numbers, the second bucket is right here with the row numbers, and this is your third bucket with the row number. You will see that your second bucket, John Doe, has 1, 2, 3 because there are 3 rows in that bucket, while the other ones has two row numbers, 1 and 2 row numbers. Now, as a SQL Server developer or a data engineer, the question you're probably asking yourself is, how helpful is this to me? How can I use this at my job or my workplace? Now, the first thing you might want to use this for is to say, you want to, in this case, you want to understand per sales team, what is the product that is sold the most and at what price. So you want to build a report that shows per sales team, just show me the product that is sold the most and the amount that is sold the product for. So in that case, you can use something called CTE. CTE stands for Common Table Expression. It is a temporal table that you can build and then filter data from. If you don't understand what CTE is, I'm gonna put a link to CTE in the description section. That way you can understand what CTE is. Let's use that concept here and see how we can get the top performing product by sales team in this data set. So to create a CTE, you start with CTE name. I always have CTE, say top product here, and then you have you have your open close bracket. Then we're gonna put this in that common. So this is a common table that we're creating, or this is a temporal table that we're creating. And then every CTE needs to be followed with a select statement. And so in this case, I'm just going to select all from the CTE that we created up here. And then I am going to filter it. I'm going to say where the row number, because that is a column in that CTE. I'm going to say where the row number is equal to 1. Let's stop for a second and think about what this is gonna, how this is gonna work. Now we've said that partition this data by each sales team. For each of the partition, order by the amount. So what that means is that the highest amount is going to be on top, and the highest amount is going to get the first row number. And that is why we are filtering by row number equal to 1, and that's going to happen for each partition. So for this partition, you're going to have 1. For this second partition, it's going to be dryer. For the third partition here, it's going to be microphone. Now this is interesting because this is a duplicate. Now if we run this, if we execute this, now you're going to see that each of the salesperson's top selling product is being generated, and you can get your row number there. If you don't want, you can filter that row number out. Here you might just want to take that out in your result. The second thing that you can use this to do is to deduplicate the data. Now we just saw the data. If I select, or if I come here and I just select this one and I run this without the CTE, what you will realize is that Duke has 2 records, and those 2 records are duplicate. Everything about these 2 records are the same. And so one of the things you will mostly do as a data engineer or as a SQL developer is you find yourself deduplicating data a lot. And you can still use the same concept of CTE to duplicate this data. What I'm going to do here is I am going to change the CTE name to dedupe, and it's going to stay the same. And here, what I'm going to change in my window function statement now is I don't only want to partition this data by the sales team. I want to partition this data by the sales team, by the product name, by the amount, and the date. What this is going to do is it's going to create unique partition, and everything here is going to be one except for this duplicate, because this duplicate now is going to be one partition for these two records, and then you're going to have 1 and 2, but all of these are going to return as 1. Let's try that and see. So I'm going to partition by sales team. I'm going to things running right, and then if I run just this one, now what you will realize is that now each of this now is a unique record. Because of the partitioning, we are not just partitioning by sales day, we are partitioning by all of this column, and that's why you're having this returning as 1. And now here in the case of due, you have this window. So this window here is made up of 2 records, 1 and 2. And so if I come and do the same thing, and I feel that where if you want to really deduplicate this record, that's going to give us only the record size equal to 1, and it's going to deduplicate the rate of record for us. Let's run this with a CTE, and then you're going to see everything come out, and our John Duke is 1. And so that is how Windows functions work with roll number, and how you can apply that in your day-to-day activity. Thank you so much.